So, thank you for coming. We were just confirming on stage, and Sam told me she's going to sing a number. Which it's a little racy for this time of night, so we'll put it back for later. Yeah.
So a rock and roll number, Sam?
Yeah.
Actually, she did sing in a group.
Yeah.
So it's not so funny.
Does anyone remember Bewitched? So thank you. I feel like it's slightly low, but thank you everyone for coming along to the bursary evening, our 8th bursary evening. I'm Tom Chalmers. I run Legend Press, and as a result, I've been here since the start. And it is amazing each year that we come and see the bursary, and it, kind of as it goes on and celebrating new writers. It's one of the nights of the year I look forward to the most, because as people may or may not know, Luke was the first novelist I signed up. So I launched Legend Press in 2005 on a bit of a random whim. As my flatmate said, I went downstairs to get a slice of carrot cake, and I came back with a company. And then Luke showed a great leap of faith in me. At the time, you kind of don't realise when you're kind of ploughing forward, this random guy in a flat in Stoke Newington who said, I'm starting a publishing company, right, I want to publish your novel. And then it all happened very quickly with White Summer, which was Luke's novel, which we published in 2006. I won't run you through it at length, but one thing I was just thinking about earlier was that we always we had a whole series of book signings, so I'd go with Luke and we'd do signings at Waterstones, and he said to me, he always said beforehand, bring some drinks and stuff, so we had Prosecco left over from the launch, which he brought along, and then on the way he would say, you need to get some food. And then, I'm not the classiest as a boy from Leicester, and I always used to come with my Tesco's carrier bag of pork pies and nuts, which kind of wasn't. So it's taken a long time for me to get used to these type of events and playing the part. But if anyone wants a pork pie, then come and I've got a bag full.
I've no left back from the first launch.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I won't keep people too long. I just wanted to say a couple of things in that. One, thank you for Elaine for doing such an amazing job in the bursary and kind of being the support and the idea behind it at the start.
Well, Luke's idea.
Yes, Luke's idea, and it's been carried on by Elaine brilliantly. And also to our amazing judges, Katie Ford down there, and Sam Mills, who's there, formerly of Bewitched, and Marta herself from The Guardian, who can't be here. She's slumming it in New York and Mexico currently for The Guardian. But we always enjoy our meeting up and our panel discussion, and it's always very hard choosing between. We have now hundreds and hundreds of entries for the bursary, and putting that into 9 and then choosing, generally, often fists fly and, there's bruises and anger and, but by, we have a month after the panel, so we're all back together and, not talking to each other. I can't go within 10 yards of Katie, she's legally, so. I did say I slipped.
And you did give me a glass of wine.
Yes, I did get you a glass of wine, so all's well now. But and also, so after obviously we're going to run through the the prize, and afterwards we also have some with my business head on some of the former winners in our Legend Press collection, which are available to purchase on discounted prices and 0% discount across all books from Miss Charlotte Chase. So, the sales chase, as she's known. But anyway, I will pass on, and so I think now we're going to. So I think Elaine is going to say a few words. So I will enough for me. But congratulations, everyone, again.
Every award night is different because, of course, we have different finalists, but it's so much more than that. It's different because we've had the opportunity to learn from our previous experiences. I think Tom would agree with that. And this is what happens to us in childhood. We learn from our experiences. We all have 100 billion brain cells, neurons, so plenty to work with. And working to change our attitude to our experiences can be an illuminating opportunity. To change our personality, we have to change our mind. Childhood is the most important time to develop the brain, but we now know, because of the advancement in neuroscience, that as adults we can also change the way we interact with people. And that can change our mood and our mind. One of the limiting difficulties about being a writer is that it can be a lonely path, without much communication with others. Katie Ford, best-selling author, who is part of our judging panel, told me she came to writing later on in life. And I found that really interesting and sort of confirmed the feeling that to write about life, you have to have experienced it, and not necessarily in a good way, and that's no reference to Katie at all. Of course, you may have experienced a huge amount while you're young. Life is so fascinating, and as Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. Tom Chalmers, rolling his eyes. Tom Chalmers, managing director of Legend, who you have heard speak, was young, as he told us last year, when he started his publishing business, and he still is young. His energy and enthusiasm have enabled Luke's Bursary to develop, so we now have a list of past winners who are continuing to get more books published and are leading more fulfilled lives. I know this because they email me and tell me, and that's just lovely. The email I received from Andrew Blackman, who was our first winner 8 years ago, he said, "We are travelling through Europe for 3 years. I'm doing freelance writing as we go to subsidise it, while Jeannie, his wife, is teaching photography online. Long-term travel is something we both wanted to do since we met in New York 15 years ago. Winning the Luke Bitmead Bursary was an important part of getting to a place where it was possible. And he was really traumatised by 9/11, wasn't he? And decided that rather than being a banker in New York, he wanted to actually do what he really wanted to do, which was write and travel. So we pushed him on his way to doing that, gently pushed. And so at the moment, he says, we're travelling in Macedonia right now, and by the time you make your speech, we should be in Albania. I'm still working on my fiction writing too, and I'm getting close to finishing my 3rd novel. There's a wonderful sense of freedom in Andrew's words. So the lovely commissioning editor for Legend Press, Lauren Parsons, who does an amazing job editing books, helping them to become ready for publication. It seems that he's putting you on standby, I think, Lauren. 3rd novel on its way. These amazing award nights have helped bring me from a place of devastating grief to a place where I can truly feel proud to be in a room of creative people. Well, there's certainly 10 here that are creative, and I think a lot more as well. You seem to be bouncing ideas around with like-minded people. Not that I'm suggesting that this is like a narcissistic echo chamber, but an opportunity to engage with fellow writers. Now, I have great pleasure in introducing last year's winner, who is going to tell you a little of her experience after hearing about Luke's Bursary. She submitted her deeply fascinating book, Untouchable Things, in which Tara writes insightfully and intriguingly about how people interact with each other. So please welcome the 7th Bursary winner, Tara Luha. And where are you, Tara? So Tara, I'm wondering, we're going to share this microphone. A year on,
Yes.
when you reflect,
Yes.
give us an idea how the transition has been for you from being an unpublished writer to now having your books on the bookshelves.
It's quite incredible. I just had such a rush when I arrived outside the pub and just saw Betsy Trotwood, and it took me straight back to last year. And it is incredible to think how much has happened in a year.
Yeah.
And it was winning the bursary was one of those transformative moments that I don't think happen that often in a life, and sort of turned me from someone who was trying to write a novel and had been for a long time into a writer, and I could actually use that term. So just having just being able to say I'm a writer has been amazing, and it has been been a roller coaster ride. I've had to sort of juggle the writing around children and a job, But there was no question that I was going to make it happen. You don't get an opportunity like this twice in a lifetime. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, well, it was amazing to have you as a winner last year, and it still is. One of the things I've noticed about the personal statement is that people who feel able to talk freely about their own personal experiences are the people who write the books that grab your attention and make you care about the characters, as I felt with your book. And I wonder how you feel about this.
Yeah, but I think that's an interesting link. I think perhaps, you know, if you do really think about yourself and analyse yourself, then you can pour all of that into your characters.
Yeah.
And certainly I'm fascinated by what makes us all tick, and what I wanted to do in Untouchable Things was to really look at sort of relationships between people, the nitty-gritty, what we say on the surface, what's really going on underneath. And so that sort of kept me coming back to the novel. And I also think that if you've been through sort of difficult times, and you can feed all of that into your characters, and it enables you to understand yourself better, and hopefully understand other people better as well.
Yeah. And it seems important to learn by going on courses and doing
Yeah.
degrees, as you did, but it's also hugely important to experience your own life events.
Yeah.
And that help, and they of course help develop you, as we know, as a person who writes spontaneously from the heart, as I felt your book. It like, you could tell the difference. In fact, Katie and I talked about this, we did. That to be able to write something that actually shows that you really understand, rather than you're using words that sound good,
Yeah.
is
That's nice to hear, because I didn't have any formal training, and that actually, you know, it took me 9 years from
But
the
you did
start.
have 2 babies as
I did
well.
have 2 babies, and actually having my first baby enabled me to get writing, which was fantastic. But it took me a long time because I was learning on the job, and I didn't have that sort of formal training. But hopefully, I like to think, because I just did it for the joy of writing, and then later down the line I had to get, you know, in touch with the technicalities.
Yeah.
But hopefully that sort of comes through in some ways, because I just had such a blast writing it, really.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And I remember, you've got to read this book. I've read it 3 times now, and I really love the idea of being part of the Friday Follies, and then not.
A few people have said actually they felt like they were sucked
Once you
into
be
part of
that,
this group, and I think, oh yes, it worked.
But then not.
Yes, exactly. Come out the other end.
So, we talked earlier about the stigma
Yeah.
that restricts us all moving forward.
Yeah.
With better understanding of our mental states. That, oh, mental states, don't talk about them, please. And we're completely, well, we feel the same, don't we? And
Yeah.
you work in a way
Yeah.
that shows it.
Yeah.
And how do you feel we can improve, encourage people to feel able to be open about their mental states and let go of shame?
Yeah.
Because if you break your leg, you don't hobble about without it getting fixed.
Yeah. No, that's true. And I actually work in for a mental health charity in an anti-stigma role, and I was just about to start that job, in fact, when I saw the details of the bursary. So I sort of had a moment of double connection. First of all, it was about an unpublished novel, and secondly, it was that sort of the anti-stigma. I felt that was really powerful. I really connected with that. And what I think is that we, the more we talk about it, the more we write about mental health, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, we all have mental health, it's not just that some people over there in that bit of the room have it and the rest of us are fine. We all have, moods that fluctuate. Let's sort of get real about it.
So we can all support each other.
Absolutely, and that's why I think that the bursary is so, it has such a power to transform people's lives. And obviously there's the, the sort of very dramatic way that it has done for me, but also it transforms people's lives because it's tackling that stigma around mental health, around suicide. And I just think it's wonderful work.
Well, I thought it was amazing when you said to me, and I was still quite fragile about the whole thing, talking about Luke's suicide, and you said, well, and we were talking about anti-stigma, and you said, well, you're doing it, and I think, oh, yes, I hadn't really thought about that, because you feel, and I know from the family I'm married into, they won't talk about it at all. So it's really bit by bit, the more each of us feels able to express those difficult things, because they become less difficult if you're talking to people with empathy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you so
Yes,
much,
thank
because
you.
it's been wonderful
Yeah.
having this year when
Yes.
you've been progressing with, and I think your solidarity and agreeing with the ethos of Luke's Bursary has been wonderful.
It's been wonderful working with you and with Legend Press. Yeah, I've had a fantastic year.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we come to the moment when we all enjoy announcing our finalists in no particular order, and finally present the 8th bursary. Before we do that, just quickly want to say, okay, I want to thank everyone that sent in a submission, because this is the first year we had an entry fee, and it means that all of you have contributed to us being able to continue to give the bursary. And another person to remember is somebody who I have forgotten for 8 years at this moment, and that is my husband Chris, who keeps the finances in meticulous order, so we have a clear record of how we are progressing, receiving donations, and a load of other things that he does, and it falls into very safe hands. Just happens to be a chartered accountant, so wasn't that lucky? Okay, so all the money raised is given back to the finalists as the bursary and with the other prizes that we give, and all the work is done from love, really. And I want to also particularly mention, for those of you that look at Luke's website, Anke and Jim, who have gone off travelling again, who ran after I'd finished talking last year, I said, I'm going to have to run a marathon for next year, like joke. And this guy came up to me and said, I'll run a marathon for you. And I went, oh, wow, would you really? And he said, yeah, sure. And it turned out he didn't run a marathon, they ran 50 miles, and his wife ran 50 miles as well, and they raised over £1,000, which was a fantastic help. Yeah. So, anyone feels like doing anything like that? Have a word with me. Thank you all very much for listening, and we will now announce.
So hi, I'm Lottie from Legend Press. I'm not as tall as everybody else. Just change the mic. So we're going to count down from 10 to 4 to the important people to do 3 to 1. But we'll give some feedback about each of the shortlisted people, because we felt very strongly about each of the books, and it wasn't easy coming to a decision. So we've got feedback from the judges. So first for in no particular order.
Any of the 9.
It's a jumble. So Fragrance of the Night by Miranda Rouault. Unfortunately, she can't be with us tonight, but here's some feedback from the judges. The judges were gripped by the striking opening chapters. The setting of Indonesia was both convincing and compelling.
Miranda did actually email me very sweetly. She is in Australia, and she said she'd love to be here. She said, I'd love to do the quick flip from Australia to England, but I'm in the middle of doing my PhD, and it's my father's 70th birthday this weekend. So there we go. We're going to send her this film that we're very lucky to have Yannick Schmuller, who is doing brilliantly in his film career, who's actually come this evening to take a film for us all. Thanks, Yannick.
Sure.
Okay, so next up we have This Beautiful World by Joanne Phillips. So Joanne, if you'd like to come up and collect your notes. So Joanne, we just wanted to say we all love the 3 distinct voices that you weave together so effortlessly.
Thank you.
And it's an insightful read filled with moving and uplifting moments.
Thank you.
Next we have Vigil by Louise Charland, who is also unable to join us this evening. But we loved how the author handled the challenging and sensitive topic with care, and Louise's writing style enabled the piece to really stand out.
Whereas
She
we
couldn't
have
make it tonight, so
Yeah,
No,
Louise
but we-
didn't make it.
Oh, right, you've given me the wrong one. Fine, okay, excuse me. My mistake.
So next up we have The Street Sweeper by Bren Gosling. So Bren is also unable to make it, but I believe David is here to collect on his behalf. So David, if you wouldn't mind coming up. just a little bit for Bren. The panel found the plot to be imaginative and unique, a realistic portrayal of everyday characters.
Next up is When Petals Fall by Jennifer Lewin. So if Jennifer would like to come up. So it was a hard-hitting novel that we all found especially thrilling. It's a really commercial crime novel filled with potential that's both authentic and immediately attention-grabbing. I really liked it.
And then the next one is Flight Path by Deirdre McFarlane. So Deirdre, Deirdre would just like to say we were immersed consuming sights and smells of Vietnam, which was unique and unlike any other bursary submission we've received this year. The interweaving of cultures was engrossing and created an immersive connection to the readers. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind coming up and announcing third place.
Sometimes you give judges feedback.
I don't know so if you did have any
Okay. The one I'm going to talk about, and you know it's third, do we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just don't want to give anything away. It's called Temporary Spaces by Sue Reynolds. I found particularly this very atmospheric and such a strong sense of place and atmosphere, and I was really, really impressed by it, as we all were. And it was lovely. You don't want me to read my bit out. Do you want me to read a bit of it now?
Yeah,
Come
sure.
later.
I believe Sue couldn't make it tonight, but her daughter Natasha is here. Hello.
Thank you very much.
She's filming you.
Shall I?
Film it coming up.
Yeah, I'm sorry she wasn't able to be here, but lovely that you are. And it is possible.
I'm just going to read a paragraph, but to be honest, I think a paragraph is almost enough to give you that, tell you why the judges were all so impressed with it. She sits still as a statue, part of the chair, holding tight to the ugly spoon that's too big and pitted with tarnish. She loads it with the grey porridge cement and inches it upwards. It is a crane. It reaches the giant building that is her mouth, and she licks it clean, working up her spit so she can swallow. Bits of fairy dust dance in the air, caught in the sun streaming in through the window, matching her churning stomach that swills round and around. Claire wants to float with the dust, invisible, moving back and forth, way above what she knows is coming. So I defy any of you not to read on after you hear that.
Thank you.
And in second place we have Hugo Gibson, The Storm Still. So we just have a few words to say about Hugo. So Hugo Gibson impressed us with both his personal statement and his prose. Hugo was inspired to write Storm Still when he travelled to Ethiopia in 2008 to work for a charity for 6 months. Hugo described how this was a life-changing experience for him. When he returned to the UK, he struggled to adapt, for, in Hugo's words, there's a sharp contrast between sitting in meetings talking about projects and seeing hope in someone's eyes as they are given a clean bed to sleep in after spending months on the streets. This, in turn, inspired his novel Storm Still, which explores the impact of the Ethiopian civil war on a character called Bahalu. Sorry if that's mispronounced, Hugo. Hugo stated that for him, fiction is a means of giving voice to the unspoken and the unseen. Storm Still is a novel which explores love, marriage, war and politics. We were impressed by Hugo's elegant and polished prose style, as well as the depth of thought that has gone into his writing. Congratulations.
Now we come to that really special moment, and we have a really special person who's won this year, and I'm very proud to be able to announce that it is Lynn Farrell with her book, The Wacky Man.
I'm not going to say that much about the book because you're going to see it out, published by Legend Press in 2016. Yes. It's amazingly written. It's slightly, it's challenging in that it's quite dark. It's but it's kind of page turning. It's got amazing characters, and as I say, you will see it in all good bookshops next year. Here's your check.
I'm very shy,
But she's absolutely delightful. You don't have to.
I'm sorry, I'm still clinging on to the check. It's difficult to let go.
I'm someone else who's taken a long time to write this. It's been 10 years. Somebody at work asked me when I started it, and I said I wrote the first notes in 2004. So I've been learning as I've gone, and it's been a story that I've really wanted to write. And it's for my family, especially my siblings. And yeah, I hope people like it. It had to be quite brutal.
Well, we thought it was amazingly powerful, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
But the real one's in the envelope.
Oh.
It's like one of those etcher sketches we just spotted out. It's meaningless. But there's no, thank you everyone for coming again, and people have travelled very far for today, some not so far and some very far. So I hope everyone has an amazing night, and maybe see some of you here for the 9th year next year. So yeah, have a great night, and thanks everyone for coming.